Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. My name is Bradley Ball, and it is so good to have you with us. Last week, Daniel Taylor delivered how to set up and test Azure failover groups in minutes. Then on Tuesday, we had our Azure Data Community Roundtable. On Wednesday, we released Real-Time Tracking the International Space Station with Microsoft Fabric Part 2. And then we also released this Monday, Daniel Taylor was back again with SQL Agent 101, how to use SQL Admin Pack in Azure Data Studio. So much to do, so much to see. You don't want to miss a thing. If this is your first time finding your way over to Tales from the Field, give us a like and give us a subscribe. We are broadcasting out of our hub here on YouTube on the Tales from the Field channel. And if you want to interact with this show, it is so incredibly easy to do. So it didn't take me long to screw up, right? Just the first 5 seconds. There we go. It is so incredibly easy to interact with this show. All you have to do is make a comment on the stream, and one of my amazing co-hosts is going to see that comment added to the show, and you will be a part of the show. And of course, before we go any further, let me introduce those amazing co-hosts of mine. I am joined by Daniel Taylor, Andres Padilla, Mr. Josh Ludeman, and hotter than the crazy summer we are having this year, it's your friend and mine, Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri. Quick call to action. We want to make sure that you understand that this show is part of the Azure Data Community, and it is by the Azure Data Community. So one of the things that you want to check out, if I can find the layout to be able to share this, is the Azure Data Community website page. So that way you can find a user group near you. We have user groups throughout the globe. There are user groups meeting every single month, and you want to take advantage of this. This is your community to be able to help you understand and troubleshoot different technologies. And speaking of troubleshooting and understanding different technologies, there's no better place than SQL Saturday. SQL Saturday is a free conference that gets put on any place that is nearby you. As you can see, we have Bangladesh coming up, we have Denver, we have Minnesota, and then of course on October 7th, we have SQL Saturday Orlando. Myself, Daniel Taylor, Josh Ludeman, Buck Woody, Neeraj Jhaveri, Karthik Yella, we are all going to be in person at the SQL Saturday event. You want to come and check us out. We're going to have a pre-con, a full day of Fabric for the data developer, or for DBA focused folks. And then we are also going to have multiple regular sessions at the event. It is going to be a good time, and we hope you choose to spend some of that time with us. But I was
going to say, before you get kicked in, we're talking about the community, Brad. And here we go. We got the community out there watching right there. ASP Nerd, what's up? How you doing, buddy?
What's up, ASP Nerd? Yeah, awesome. I was going to say I love that name too, because my first job working with classic ASP pages. So I completely get that. That's some good stuff. That's a callback to earlier days. Speaking of another good callback, we've got Data Saturday. Now, Data Saturday is often a place that you want to go for our international folks. You can see they have Cape Town, they have Durban, they have Gothenburg, they have Oslo, so many events set up. And you're going to find Microsoft folks, you're going to find MVPs, you're also going to find people from the community who contribute all the time at these events, giving presentations. So you want to make sure and check those out. And of course, I'm going to give a quick honorable mention to the LinkedIn group that we have created for Microsoft Fabric. It has been, you'll be speaking at Orlando too. We can't wait to see you there. Well, there we go. We've got so many folks. ASP Nerd's going to be there. Josh is going to be there. Me, Neeraj, Buck, Karthik. I mean, come on, we got to get it. Your local user groups. Absolutely. I love that, because local user groups are the key to the community. So you want to make sure, go to that first link, and it's all in the description of the video. So go check that out. If you're streaming right now, you can check out the description. You should be able to find that link to the Azure Data Community page. The Fabric group, we have over 776 members who have signed up. We are sharing links. The product group is sharing links. They're in the ownership of the group. So please come over and join us there. It is a great and wonderful time. All right. So last week, Andres, you were out because you were a proud papa taking your kiddo to kindergarten. I'm a proud papa taking my youngest son off to college. Man, we're covering the gambit here. How are you doing?
Emotional. I feel like the day, he's slowly leaving the house. I got 8. And last thing, I've been doing research on my last summers left with him, which I believe I have 13 left, good ones. What to do every summer with him? I have a good list. Camping, sailing, you name it, rock climbing, bungee cording, all that's on the list.
It's really amazing when you start quantifying things down to numbers, right? There was a point in time, I couldn't even say it out loud, but I realized when we were planning things this weekend, in my mind, because the way you used to speak to kids and you would tell your kids, 2 more sleeps before this, 4 more sleeps before Christmas, you would literally, it would be sleeps before you get to. I'm turning off the lights, I'm going to bed. In the back of my mind, it went 3 more sleeps before you're taking him to college. And I was like, oh. Yeah, you got to enjoy those summers, my friend. All right. Speaking of enjoyment, there's a reason that people are here. They are here for the content that we have. And first up, I have the one and only, the amazing Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri with Microsoft Fabric, July 2023 update.
So a very nicely written article by Ryan. He even shares a video in there, so that is definitely, for people who does not like to read the things, video is a good thing to go in there. But he goes with all the things. He's even showing core, Synapse, Data Factory, Data Activator, and Power BI, all the different things that have come up there.
Raj, if I could, I'm going to hop in real quick because there's something often whenever you hear people talk about Synapse, they go, oh, here's the thing. There's no investment being made in Synapse. There's a lot of investment being made into Synapse. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's coming. We also got some good stuff from Data Warehouse. I'm going to let you keep going, buddy. But
so yeah, but that's what I was going to highlight. Synapse, yes, there is a whole big things that came into production ready in July. Data Factory, a lot of the investments have gone in, and definitely if you do look at Data Activator, that was a brand new thing that came in Fabric after it went to public preview. So that is something that people got excited, and maybe in future we'll have some videos also on that part of it. But definitely something to look at it. A nice article, and I think we'll also do this every month. What is coming in August? What is coming in September? So as we move, as Brad keeps on saying, Mass to GA, that is what we are definitely going to bring it up on Tales from the Field in all these updates that are coming in.
Absolutely, absolutely, fantastic. I love it. I love it. I always love when we can get these updates as well, because it's really key. There's going to be so many wonderful things that are buried in these. Speaking of wonderful things, up next, one of the things I found on the group that we have is Sam Durbin migrating Azure Synapse dedicated to Microsoft Fabric. And I really love this. Now, he makes some posts as to why you should migrate. And one of the things I would say is I'm typically going to look at the features that we have. I look at migration as something that is driven by feature development. What do you have from a functionality perspective that makes my life easier, that's going to make my future projects easier? And what he does, though, is he starts to dive into, here are the steps so that you need to consider to be able to get this data out. And if you have sizable data, you're going to want to go to a data lake. Now, the interesting thing is there's multiple different ways we could do this. We could attach this via Spark and read it in. We could potentially utilize a mount and a copy. There's multiple different things we could do, but he specifically goes through getting the data, extracting it, putting into your Azure Data Lake's Gen 2 store, attaching that, putting the link to Fabric, having a shared access signature, and then migrating that data by loading it in using create table from, using external tables. Multiple different tools are at our disposal to actually do a migration from Fabric, but this was one particular way that I found very, very interesting.
I started doing a video on this one, so hopefully maybe I will be able to finish it off, but something that future we can do with this one.
Absolutely. And I am so excited for that video because you've got some really cool stuff that you're doing in there. And I love that idea. As a matter of fact, I might have something that could help you out with that. We'll talk a little more this Friday when we have our meeting on that. But speaking of things that I am absolutely fascinated by, I was absolutely fascinated and intrigued by this next one that we have, which was Daniel Taylor. It was IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. Which platform is the correct solution or workload by our good friend Denny Chu.
So this was interesting, right? We all make the assumption that those that have moved to the cloud are in the cloud. That's not true. There's a lot of people that are still adopting the cloud and need the basic foundation of what are some of the differences in the cloud. And Denny goes through here. He talks about what IaaS is, what PaaS is, and what SaaS is. And then at the end, kind of sums it up perfectly and says, I don't give you a specific answer here because it's going to depend upon your environment, deploying the proper solutions for what you need. And this actually came up recently because Microsoft Fabric is a SaaS service, right? It's software as a service. So there's a lot we need to still get back and learn the core concepts, the 101 stuff, right? And that's why I like this article, because I had to share this out with someone and go, you know what? This is a perfect 5-minute read as to what some of the services we deploy in Azure are. And to be honest, this is cloud agnostic, right? This could work for any of the clouds. And it looks like Brad has frozen in his hotel room.
Yeah.
So I think Neeraj or Josh.
Yeah, Neeraj, go ahead and share the links.
Oh, he's gonna come back hot, y'all.
He's coming in hot.
Like that.
He must be pissed. There he comes. Oh, is he coming back?
No. Oh,
No?
there we go. So where's that link for Neeraj? Where's that link for the YouTube video?
I think Brad's still frozen.
He is. Brad is
All right,
frozen.
So
What
with technologies,
freeze Han
right? This is
Solo
what you
in?
expect.
What's Han Solo frozen in again?
Carbonite.
Carbonite, yes.
Yeah.
Carbonite, yeah.
Yeah.
There he is. Oh,
There he is.
he keeps talking to.
Yeah. So actually, let's continue on, and while Neeraj is working on getting the screen share up for the links, Brett or Dan, did you have anything more you wanted to talk about with Denny's link?
So, not so much but why I found the link really interesting was that there was an IaaS, a PaaS, and a SaaS sharing there, and Denny Cherry and Associates, they do great work. They're great people. So, they have good consulting needs, or consultants there that if you ever need somebody outside of Microsoft, they're a great company to work for. So that's why or work with. Sorry, I totally, somebody was just knocking on my door and caught me off guard there. When we're moving to Azure, it's very important to know what these services provide, and there's nuances with them. So dig a little deeper with those as well, right? IaaS, we have to do a lot of the control. We have to know a lot of the things. With PaaS, it gets a little bit easier. We'll control the backups. We'll control the iOS. We'll control the OS. I went into Apple world there. We'll control the OS for you and the patching there, but you need to do the things internally to it. And then with SaaS, pretty much we handle it all. And that's what you're seeing with Fabric, is we're handling a lot of that stuff for you, the technologies for you. So we're able to allow the developers to do what they need to do. We're allowing the coders to do what they need to do. We're allowing the support folks to free up and make sure that the environment's stable and reporting on things. So, and I think we could also move to knowing these different services. Sorry, that wasn't English. My English teacher would be very proud of me. So no, I think I'm really good there with respect to that. I think Andres has a cool link. If you have that, Josh, that you could share.
Yeah. Neeraj actually has it up right now. I was going to actually pivot right over to it. Andres, you've got a great video from Lior around creating cool, glowing architecture diagrams.
Oh, this is so what I was doing is I was on YouTube and I just typed in the word cool and two things popped up. Dan space and his videos, and then right under that, Lior Kamrat and how to create cool glowing architecture diagrams. Dan, you're up at the top. What he does, so I've been doing a lot of architectural work lately and trying to, turn my boring architecture diagrams into some great eye candy. Lior shows us how to do that with PowerPoint. And I like to subscribe to what my mentor, Michael J. Scott, taught me. There's nothing wrong with doing it with a little bit of razzle dazzle. Check out this video.
No, definitely. It's a great video. And for those who aren't aware, Lior is really one of the founders and one of the faces of the open source project called Arc Jumpstart, right? And so a lot of the original graphics work, some of the original presentations, things that they put together as part of launching Jumpstart, Lior had a hand in. So his work in architecture, Arc, launching programs and stuff, he's had a lot of experience putting together a lot of great architecture diagrams and graphics. So definitely a great resource for that. Thanks, Andres. Now for me, the article I went with is Serving Layers with a Data Lake from James Serra. So, for me, I come back to James every once in a while. As far as data architecture goes, James is one of those real recognized, experts in the area. And this is another great article from him. I look at it as a great resource for folks who maybe are just looking at data lakes for the first time now as they start to look at Fabric after that launch. And what James goes through here is really the different layers within a data lake. He kind of hits on that at the beginning and then starts talking about other pieces with the data lake and even talking about physical serving layer. And that's where he kind of goes in here, starts to explain things like schema on read as a principle, and then talks through physical serving layers, relational serving layers, really so that you can understand the different ways to organize your data in a data lake and in a way that works for you.
Nice. I thought.
All right. And then, of course, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Neeraj, efficient data partitioning with Microsoft Fabric, best practices and implementation guide.
Thanks, Josh. So this is by one of our colleagues from the EMEA team. Sally brought this up yesterday to me in one of the ideas that we are creating up in Fabric. And nicely done. I mean, data partitioning definitely is one of the key things that you definitely want to have it just for scalability, performance, and other things. And now she walks it through the whole article saying how to do it. I mean, what really data partitioning is, just showing our diagram up here. And then she's going step by step, showing what exactly is how she's doing it, the data partition. She's creating a notebook, then loading the data in there, and then transferring the data into data partitioning. So she's giving a live example up there, and then she's also showing the output and saying what exactly how she can do it. The best part that I even like it up I was just speaking to her. She's also going to come up with an article where she's going to say how to do it for dummies. I mean, if you are very new to it, don't understand data partitioning, she's also going to modify this up to make it very easy for them to do it up there. So something that looking forward to learn data partitioning by our colleague Sally from India. Moving on, I think Brad, if you are still there, you want me to share your thing?
Yeah, everybody. Sorry about that. Hotel Wi-Fi, right? All right. So I have Angela Henry, SQL Swimmer. And Angela's blog was specifically options for credentials within a service principal, owns a Power BI data set. And what I loved about this was this wasn't a step-by-step tutorial, but it was a really good explanation as to the different types of identity that can be used, especially within Power BI reports, looking at the pros, the cons, and also the security points of them, why you should use each one, why it might be dependent upon based off your data source, pushing you into utilizing one versus the other. Really, really great up by Angela, right up by Angela. And of course, she's one of our wonderful MVPs. I can't remember if we've had her blog on before. And so the second I saw this, I was like, oh, this is just going to be a great thing for us to put. But if you are looking at, hey, what are the ins and outs of how I actually do refreshes for Power BI reports, and what are the account options I have, this was a great explanation to be able to help you understand that.
I mean, I like the way she has put down the pros and cons for every authentication, right? I mean, that is something definitely is going to be useful to understand the whole pros and cons of it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brad, for that. So next we're going to head over to Dan. Dan has a great article, 5 new features in Microsoft Fabric with the July 2023 update. Ooh. By Haroon Lagos or Lagos.
It's funny. This kind of it's kind of funny. This builds on the link that Neeraj shared at the beginning, with the updates that are coming out. But what I loved about this was he calls out 5 of his top favorites, and actually they're really good ones, and I can kind of concur with this. Right, the 0 copy tables where you just have the metadata. You don't have to move your data. I believe Brad or Neeraj, you did a video on this. So there's a lot of importance on this. Automatic updates for statistics. I didn't know. We knew we didn't have it, but for them to release it this early on, that means that they're putting an emphasis on the warehouse and utilizing the warehouse. So I thought that was really cool. The next one I thought was really important because we've heard a lot about security in Fabric, right? And here we can see that the security team is working hard on securing our Fabric environment, our Microsoft Fabric environment for us. So here we can share a lakehouse with access to the workspace. So that's really important, right? Only giving people the access to what they need, and with it being a single tenant and having all the lake houses and warehouses all in one, that's a really important one to have. So I thought that was a really cool one he called out. And then the event hubs to KQL database. Brad, I believe you just did a video on that. So another cool one. So we're touching on all of his favorites here. And then the final one was send a message to teams in your data pipelines. We want to know, has something failed, right? When something fails, we need to know. There has to be an actionable item. So I thought that was really cool. So I love the top 5 that he shared here in his links. Go out, look at this link, and also go look at the other, I think it was 64 things they added in July alone. 64. That's a ton of work.
It was amazing link by Dan, and I knew it was amazing because when I went in the spreadsheet to start writing things out, that was one I had wanted, and I immediately looked for Neeraj, and I went, Neeraj probably got that. Nope, Dan stole it before myself or Neeraj could even get to it. Great link, Dan. Wonderful stuff.
Oh, and I did forget to call out. I am so sorry, Brad. That came from our Fabric group. That came from the Fabric support group that we have in LinkedIn. So once again, the value of being part of that group.
Next up, I believe it's Andreas. Andreas, you have an end-to-end data science scenario in Microsoft Fabric, another exciting one.
More of Microsoft Fabric, but this time from the data science standpoint. Nellie Gustafson, what she does in 8 minutes, no more than 8 minutes, she takes us through a great end-to-end data science scenario using that prototypical taxi cab sample that we've all seen out there. So what she's doing here, she's walking us through the key end-to-end data science scenario in Microsoft Fabric. What I got out of it was, 1, the great parity between ML Studio. 2, how to integrate one lake into the data access, data preparation stage. 3, how ML Flow fits into the picture in order to set up your experiments. What other good things are we doing here? Capture and track your run iterations, create your model, and log those model versions. That's what you want out of ML Flow. It is a code for, code centric approach, which I love. And then she tops it all off how she can pump data into the model in a batch process, get back a good prediction, land that data into a Delta Lake, and then use Power BI to report off those great predictions. What you're going to get out of this out there in the world is they're going to consolidate in 8 minutes those major steps. If you grasp those major steps, your journey for getting into Microsoft Fabric and the data science, it's going to be that much easier. Awesome video.
Well, and Nilly is a consummate professional. It's something that she's done incredibly well. We saw her internally long before this was even publicly available, present on scenarios like this for us. And then one of the things she did was she showcased this scenario with Guy in a Cube very, very early on. I'm so glad to see her having this video that walks people through this, and this is absolutely fantastic stuff. Again, speaking of absolutely fantastic stuff, I believe next up we have Mr. Fantastic himself, Mr. Josh Ludeman, with Prepare Azure DevOps for Microsoft Fabric Git Integration by our good friend Kevin Chan.
Yeah. So Kevin has this great article here. And again, just like the topic or the title says, he goes through and really walks through at a depth, because you can see it in the scroll bar on the side. It's pretty small. He actually goes into a depth on really, lays the foundation of what is the Git integration with Fabric, and then walks you through how to join it to an existing DevOps organization, the, subscriptions needed, creating an organization, all those different things, creating a Git repository, how to configure it, talks through running pipelines in it. It's really, really good. I mean, because for me, I'm one of those folks that really gets excited about how we can incorporate DevOps and simplify, our workflow to getting to production. So I absolutely love this stuff of really helping to, make the development kind of workflow shorter for our solutions. So definitely a great article. Kevin's a repeat on the show. So glad to bring more great content.
Kevin does such a wonderful job in this area. There's nothing of his that I've ever read that I haven't just thoroughly enjoyed. He does a great job. Also in that Fabric user group, sharing his GitHub repository, sharing his content. And if he doesn't get to share it before we do, I know somebody out there does so, because it is just wonderful stuff that he produces. Speaking of wonderful stuff.
Well, I have two questions.
I in this one for a while. This is Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri up front, and he's got Unleashing the Power of Microsoft Fabric and Synapse ML, a guide to Q&A on PDF documents and LLMs, large language models.
Yep, a very nicely written article. I mean, yeah, big title as the last time. But this is a very nice article that Neeraj Jhaveri has written down. He goes over how, he's really going over how this whole thing is set up for PDF documents. Data science is pretty new to Fabric and all of them. So he's giving an example how to bring these articles into it, provide, even he has like how to integrate it up using the authentication method in there, which is a key because that's how you can authenticate up. Good code he has written down in there. And then he's putting down the load PDF document into the Spark data frame, showing an example how to load that up. And then read this document with the AI intelligence that is available in the Power BI part of it, and then split out the document into chunks. Like he's splitting up all these things into small different things, helping you out to understand the PDF part of it. Nicely done article. And it is something that in future you might definitely, I know you are working right now with LLMs, something that would definitely would help you out to build it up.
Love that.
I was looking at this, and
I'll eat that up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I looked at this and I thought this is going to be a great thing. We need somebody to walk through it. I felt the exact same way about this. So sitting very closely to Neeraj's topic is my next topic, which is use the semantic kernel with Lakehouse in Microsoft Fabric. And what I love by this is Kin-Fei Lo did a fantastic job of walking through this, giving us screenshots I actually reached out to him to be able to find his Twitter account, so that way we could make sure and give him some credit when we post on that. And so I've got a contact now. When I walk through this later, if I have any issues, I know I'm going to reach out to him, but I don't think I'll have any issues, because if you just scroll through this blog, one of the things you're going to find very quickly is there's a lot of wonderful screenshots walking us through the process to be able to leverage this together, loading information into an Azure storage account, connecting it, invoking that semantic kernel, so that way we can utilize it via OpenAI and the ChatGPT-3 Turbo resources that we have in Azure OpenAI. A lot of wonderful stuff. This is going to be a really, really fun one to play around with, and I love the detail in here. Kenfei, thank you so much. Now, speaking of things I'm excited about, I'm not going to lie, this next one. So Dan, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to say beforehand, but this one touched my heart. This is an absolutely wonderful charity. This is a wonderful cause. Steve Hughes is just one of the best human beings I've ever met. The impact he's had on me and my career is massive. And I think anybody who has ever come in contact with or worked with Steve probably has had that same thing. Steve is fighting through ALS, and the man is a fighter. He's not letting it stop him one bit. He continues to blog. He continues to work. And this is an ALS walk for him. Dan, I'm going to let you take this away. I love seeing this in here. Great one, buddy.
Yeah. So every 90 minutes, somebody is diagnosed with ALS, and every 90 minutes, somebody is taken from us and passes on to another place. And Steve is a great friend, to the point, he's been instrumental in my career. If you have the chance, or if you have the funds, please go out here and donate to this cause. The cause is coming up in about a week and a half. We need to start donating. His daughter's killing it from the donation, so we need to. I think I'm going to give Steve a little bit of love so that he gets, a little bit there. But they're doing really good. They've exceeded their expectations. But let's see if we can help him hit 200%, y'all. I'm reaching out there from my heart to all of you in the technical industry. Please, this is a good friend of ours, and we all have good friends that are impacted by ALS. So,
yep,
absolutely. I was going to say that touched my heart through and through, and of course, we have another good friend who is on this show who touches my heart through and through every single week. He's the dad I have bonded with at the top of the hour. It is Mr. Andreas Padilla, and he has the amazing 10 Azure ML code examples every cloud AI developer should know. Andreas, take it away, buddy.
Thank you, Brad, for that segue. And Dan, yes, I will be sending a little bit contribution to that. Aaron Bornstein hits us with a great 10 examples of that you should know, and I went through the 10 examples, and yes, you should know these. As if you're using Azure ML and Azure Studio, there's some great examples from how to use deep learning models, using different SDKs with TensorFlow, PyTorch, how to set them up. But my favorite one in here actually was how to detect model drift with AML and Kubernetes. Love that, because model drift is it's a complicated subject, and grasping it. And they do a good job in that sample to get you situated with data drift.
And Andreas, from my layman point of view, tell me if I've got this wrong, but model drift is when you've trained a model, the model looks good, but over time, the model is not performing as accurately as you would like, and you begin to notice that it's essentially drifting off course, and it may need retrained. You may have an incorrect assumption. You may need new attributes, but identifying that is really key, especially if you're using like an ML model to be able to make a decision off of in a business setting, right?
You got that right. There's model drift and there's data drift. Your data is going to change over time. New columns are going to be introduced. There's seasonality data that comes in. Maybe all of a sudden, your sensors, you add a new capability to that sensor, to that your device, and it's outputting new sensor values. So data will change, which means that your model will start reading new updated information, which means that the precision might vary. might be off, off kilter. So yes, that in a nutshell is a little bit about data drift and model drift. Look at that one. Also look at the one down at I believe it's one of my favorites, obviously, is the video anomaly detection pipeline. That one's a great one, how to use video anomaly detection for videos. And great accelerator when it comes to, just video detection and object detection, defect detection. All those scenarios play into that particular sample.
Nice.
Do you know, Andres? I'm looking forward to reading this. Does it go into responsible? Because I could see where, we want to be very careful when we're doing video detection that we're not using it incorrectly or for the wrong means, right? Does it go into that? Do you know?
No, none of these samples will not that what I saw is none of them really go into how to incorporate the responsible AI aspect of it.
Okay.
Should it be, number 1 or number 11 or number 0? Yeah, incorporating those concepts into your development lifecycle. It's best practice. We push that. We want customers to do that. Not only does it keep you safe, your brand safe, your model safe, make sure you're not doing anything that is, giving back predictions that are, issues with race, ethnicity, income. You don't want to build that into your model. With
sorry to put you on the spot there.
And with responsible AI feature within ML Studio, now easily incorporated.
And that's what I was going to point to. Andreas has a wonderful video out there about incorporating responsible AI.
Yep.
And one of the things is that goes into the overall planning of it, a little more than we can cover in one show, but absolutely something to consider. But what you want to do is get your hands dirty, go in there, play around with those deployments. There's a lot of great stuff, a lot of great examples there. And what do you see all the time? We do videos based off the wonderful things that we see and the wonderful things we learn. It's a great way to educate yourself. Speaking of a great way to educate yourself, I got to tell you, whenever I see something like this come up of this caliber, it's like reaching for the stars, right? I mean, it's the Jehovah, it's the result. I mean, we've got the real deal himself, Mr. Josh Ludeman, bringing even the bigger deal, Mr. Bob Ward, SQL God himself. I mean, I can't think of a better person in the world to tell us about optimizing SQL Server. Josh, take it away.
Well, and so this one's actually a BOGO, Brad. You know me. I love freebies. I love buy one, get one. So Bob actually writes this article and the whole premise of it was based off of a conversation at the MVP Summit with our good friend Rob Farley from Australia, from Adelaide. And really just kind of got into what was, some of the wish list items that Rob had and things like that, including delayed transaction durability in TempDB. And so what Bob walks through, and frankly, again, here's a little cherry on top of the sundae. This article was written similarly that the old Bob SQL blog that the Bobs used to do. Yeah. And in fact, if you look over to the right, it's tagged Bob SQL. Where they used to actually dive into and find neat little things and actually blog about it to educate the SQL Server community. So this was written in that same vein, and he actually goes through really using delayed transaction durability and, how it was there and how it even led to, amending their documentation to state the behavior. He goes through the whole thing and really even shows, some of the IO performance gains and things like that he got, talks through that a little bit. But it's just a great, neat little article. It's a quick read. It's not a long one, but I mean, there was just so much awesome. There's Bob. There's Bob. Yeah. There's Rob Farley.
There's Rob Farley. Yeah. So much good stuff in there, because one of the things that I did, I had the great opportunity to help Bob at his 2022 pre-con. And Dan and I got to work on some of the query optimizations for an MS Learn course for SQL Server. And we got to play around with what Bob was working on and what Bob was doing. And our good friend David Pless, of course, architected a lot of those TempDB improvements I mean, so if you think about it, we got Bob Ward, we got Dave Pless, we got Rob Farley, we got Bob Sequel. I don't think there's a better way to end this show. I just don't.
There isn't. I thought it'd be a good mic drop. That's why instead of dropping it in the middle, I dropped it at the end.
Well, then I think all that's left is for us to wrap this up. And of course, we want to make sure that people are going out and checking out the Future Data Driven Summit. Andreas, Neeraj, Dan, myself, Josh, Karthik, I believe. We've got a whole bunch of people. Plus, there's great folks from Microsoft as well as us. Bob Ward's going to be speaking there. Buck Woody's going to be speaking there. David A. Murray's going to be speaking there. I mean, there's so many wonderful people. You want to go sign up for the Future Data Driven Summit. It's going to be online in September. You want to make sure and check that out. Also, speaking of things, Josh, give it to me quickly. In November, where are we going to be? Josh, you're on mute. I can't believe you're on mute right at this moment.
I did it at that moment. It happens every time. We are going to be at the Universal Studios Orlando on the luscious, beautiful grounds of the Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort and Conference Center for Live 360.
Yes, you want to go check it out. The schedule is beginning to be posted. There's pre-conference sessions. Myself, Josh Ludeman, Neeraj Jhaveri, Buck Woody. We will be doing a full day of modern data warehousing on Microsoft Fabric, showing you how you become really an expert and understand the different implementations of it. And think of all that we've got to build. Look at what was released in July. Think of all we've got that's going to be built by November. And trust me, we are going to cover it. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be decorated for Christmas, beautiful time of the year, and your card at your hotel is a 2-card fast pass for Universal Studios. Doesn't get any better than that. But if you are in Orlando in October, you can totally come to SQL Saturday Orlando. Check out myself, Dan Taylor, Josh Ludeman, Karthik is going to be in the house, and we are going to have a wonderful time. Another pre-con for Microsoft Fabric as well. Remember, if you have content you want us to feature on the roundtable, we would love to hear from you, and we would love to feature it. Thank you to everyone in the Azure Data community for what you have created and generated. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. Take care, everybody. Have a great week out there, and thanks so much for joining us on Tales from the Field.
I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. Afloat, you grow, you show yourself.